the August 27th, 2025 meeting of the Fall River Redevelopment Authority. Pursuant to the open meeting law, any person may make an audio or video recording of this public meeting and may transmit the meeting through any medium. Attendees are therefore advised that such recording transmission are being made, whether perceived or unperceived, by those present and are deemed acknowledged and permissible. We're going to do a roll call. John Erickson.
Ron Rusin.
Ben Feidelberg.
Joan Medeiros.
Ann Keen.
Also attending John Coughlin, Legal Counsel, Sarah Page, Executive Director, Karen Martin, Project Manager, Bill McGrath, Project Engineer for the Beta Group, and Eric Galley, Project LA Landscape Architect from Beta Group. First item is approval of our open session minutes from July 23rd, 2025. If there's no comments, I'll entertain a motion to approve those minutes.
A motion to approve the July 23rd, 2025 open session minutes.
Second.
Second.
John Erickson, yes.
Ron Rusin, yes.
Ben Feidelberg, yes.
Joan Medeiros, yes.
Ann Keen, yes.
Thank you. Next item is the warrant, which Joan has gone through. So this warrant, current warrant, total is $191,540.77. There's no questions on this. I'll entertain a motion to approve that warrant.
A motion to approve the August warrant in the amount of $191,540.77.
Second.
Second.
John Erickson, yes.
Ron Rusin, yes.
Ben Feidelberg, yes.
Joan Medeiros, yes.
Ann Keen, yes.
Thank you. Okay, admin, the 2024 audit update. Karen's going to speak to that.
All of our financials have been uploaded to the auditor's platform, and they've started going through everything, and now I'm responding to some of the things that they want to see. So we should hopefully be in good shape with that within, a month or so. I mean, they have pretty standard things that I have to show them, copies of some invoices and things like that. So that seems to be moving along, and we're just waiting for the audit report from the state on the retirement board. So hopefully we'll get that wrapped up soon. They will forward that to me as soon. The retirement board will forward that to me as soon as they get it, and then I'll forward it on to the auditors. So that'll probably be the last piece before they finalize the audit. And that's kind of it for the update on that.
Insurance.
The only reason I kind of bring this up is because we're looking into, this is our annual renewal of our directors and officers insurance, and our expiration date is September 21st on the current policy. We're looking into moving the policy from our current provider to a potential get all our insurance with Bay Coast Insurance. And we're just going through some of the finer details. Ben's helping me out looking at the policy. I do have the policies now I can send you. I bring it up because it would have been nice if I had been able to put the premium into this month's warrant, but I'm probably going to need to cut a special check before our next meeting and get signatures on it, just so we can pay the policy prior to expiration. So I just wanted to give you that heads up. So.
Okay. Sarah's going to speak briefly to the truck stop Neon Gas Station Innovation Way certificate of completion.
So you got the certificate of completion in your packet. John drafted it. We talked about it, and this is a project that really preceded some of us, and it's basically the owner is going to lease the facility to Cumberland Farms, and so they needed a certificate of completion and had never gotten one, and so this one has a lot of qualifications in it, saying you have to meet NEPA and all these other requirements, and it just says that we're approving the building as built based on the LDA.
So does that mean that it won't be a Neon anymore? It'll be a Cumberland Farms?
I think so.
That's what we think.
The sense I got is that they're leasing a bunch of sites to Cumberland maps. This is just one of many, all as one package. So they're represented by attorney Tom Caloran. I reviewed the certificate with him. They're good with it, so I think they're waiting for this so that they can complete the lease and do the transfer.
Okay. So you guys do have that in the package. And I'll entertain a motion to approve the certificate of completion for DevCon at Innovation Way Fall River and authorize me to sign the certificate.
You just said the motion was.
Say so moved.
Say so moved, no, so moved, that's better. It just saved me a lot of words.
You stole the thunder.
Second?
Second.
John Henson, yes?
Ron Rushin, yes?
Ed Feidelberg, yes.
Joan Maderis, yes.
John.
Jane King, yes.
Don't let me forget to have you sign it.
I have it right here. Oh, you just did, geez, all right. I need a copy of that then, John, please.
Okay. Thanks for that, guys. Next item is cathodic protection, Karen.
All right. So cathodic protection is essentially substantially complete as of the end of July. We just received, John Cotillo, the cathodic engineer, went out and he tested everything. The system is operating as intended. And we did a dive inspection on August 22nd. And we're going to be getting a 4-hour video of underwater inspection. It should be lively. All the anodes are installed. There is one that needs the bottom tab welded, and so that's the only real issue on the anodes. And then there are a couple of spots that we've listed out that they want the contractor to go back out and touch up, just because it looks like it ran a little bit, and the stuff was tough to handle in the hot weather, so he's going to go back and recoat some of that, and hopefully we'll pay him his retainage at the end of September, and that will wrap up the contract work. Now, the next phase of work, which is the remaining sections of the bulkhead, I had sent in the board package this diagram. So as part of the base contract and base work with Kavanaugh, they did 700 lineal feet of the bulkhead. And so the next thing would be to finish that same Denso 525 coating on the remaining amount of the bulkhead, which is roughly a little over 1,100 feet. I think it's 1,130 feet to be exact. And there is money in the EDI grant to cover that. We will use most of the contingency fund in that grant, but in talking with Mike, that's not a problem. And we still aren't sure the rest of that grant covered a parking lot, which we still don't know how that's going to come to fruition. Like, where are we going to put it? What are we going to do? So I wanted to get approval to do a change order to Kavanaugh to complete the remaining sections of the pier. And it's like 1,130 lineal feet of the same Denso 525, and then that would make the bulkhead completely protected in the splash area.
We don't have to send out RFP on that? You
No,
do
because
that?
it would be an extension to the existing contract.
So the blue is where the pink, the
The
additional.
the blue is what was completed as part of the base contract, which is like 700 lineal feet, and then the pink is the proposed to be done in the
Right,
change
but
order.
They're all the same, in the same.
Yes, it'd be all the same, yeah, it'd be all the same.
Okay.
And it'd be like an $83,000 change order.
So
A motion to approve, before you say that.
Go ahead.
Okay.
Motion to approve change order number one to be issued to Kavanaugh Marine
Why is
Inc.
it in red?
for a price not to exceed $83,112, and to extend the contract completion date to November 30th, 2025, to complete the Denso coating of the remaining section of the bulkhead at City Pier, and to authorize the chair to sign the order.
Second?
Second. I guess second.
Second.
John Henson, yes?
Ron Rushin, yes?
Ed Feidelberg, yes.
Joan Maderis, yes. Jane King, yes.
Okay, thank you.
I should just mention that the reason I asked for the November 30th extension is just because hurricane season is upon us, and choppy water makes it really hard to paint and do all of those things in choppy water. So he just said if we can just extend it to the end of November, just because he'll have to play that chop and everything. So that was the only thing I figured I'd throw in.
Okay, we need to renew Tim De Silva's yearly landscape agreement.
Yes, so he had an initial contract to do the landscape, and this is his final year that it was renewable up to 3 years, and this would be the last year of that initial agreement, and he's holding his price, which is $23,700, and we'll have to rebid it next summer. But, you know, the whole landscaping thing could be a little different, you know, with Northfield Point and everything anyway, so it's a perfect time to have him end and then rebid it next year, so.
So what's the time period, Karen? Is it September?
It's September 1st to August 31st, 30 days, yeah, 31st, yeah.
So next year we'll do the prices on the new North Point and this together.
Yeah, it would be all the, pretty much the property, yeah.
Okay. Motion to approve a one-year renewal of the landscape maintenance agreement to De Silva Landscaping and Construction in the amount of $23,700, and to authorize the chair to sign the renewal.
Second?
Second.
Chair Erickson, yes.
Von Ruchen, yes.
Ed Feidelberg, yes.
Joan Maderas, yes. Ann Keane, yes.
Thank you. Next item is potential modifications to the Chapter 91 licenses for the dock reconfiguration and events. Karen, you gonna talk about that or Sam?
I'm gonna talk about that.
Okay.
So I don't know if you can remember, but a couple months back, we had got, when we had put in for the initial permit request for the improvements at Northfield Point, we were putting them in as minor mods and then a maintenance on the revetment. And then we were also putting in a minor mod on the dinghy dock for the new mooring field that were being put in. And as part of them approving that minor mod for the dinghy dock, the state, would you say highly suggested? Highly suggested?
Yes,
That,
encouraged.
Encouraged,
Yeah.
that we actually submit a new permit, getting all our lineal footage of dock space back around the entire perimeter of the city pier. Basically, what they did in the minor mod is we took the 60 feet of new dinghy dock space from another section of the approved dock. And so they said, why don't you just, we'll give you the minor mod for the 60 feet, but in essence, why don't you just put in a new application and get that back, and you'll have dock space all around City Pier. So in order to do that, we'd need Beta to send in another permit request for that, to Chapter 91. And then it has come up on the events for City Pier. Our current existing Chapter 91 permit only allows for public free events on City Pier. Walkways have to stay open. We do not have authority for private events. There is starting to be a lot of requests coming in for private events on that site. Whether we will be able to actually get that or not is unknown, because it's all filled tide land and the state has some pretty strict restrictions on that. But Laura from Beta is trying to set up a meeting with Mass DEP for the week of September 8th so that we can have a discussion with them about permitting of private events out on City Pier. And hopefully they'll be amenable. I'm not really sure, and Laura's not totally sure how they're going to react to that. So that's why we're gonna have this call, and then if they think that it's a fairly, good shot, then we will ask for a modification to our existing license, and then that will allow us to have private events out at City Pier. And in the meantime, we will need to, develop some type of an application, as you'd say, to actually have any type of private events. And it appears that D.W. White is going to be substantially complete with the work on Route 79 this fall, which means next year that whole waterfront area is going to be a lot more accessible. There'll be parking on Duval Street, and I think there may be more demand for things down there. So, in order to do both of those permitting events, it's like $9,500 to Beta. And I was just wondering if we could get approval to give them a not-to-exceed agreement for that work.
Okay. Motion to approve agreement with Betty Group in amount of not to exceed $9,500 for the work associated with Chapter 91 modifications to our licenses for event and dock reconfiguration, and to authorize the chair to sign the agreement.
Second.
Second.
Anderson, yes?
Ron Rusin, yes?
Ed Titleberg, yes.
Joan Daris, yes. Ann Keane, yes.
Thank you. Invasive species management bid results and update.
Yes, so, after our last meeting, we had the bid opening for the invasive plant management out at Northfield Point. And we had previously approved that as long as it came in under $60,000, we could issue the contract and Johnny could sign it. So we did get a bid from a legitimate invasive species management company called Crawford Land Management for $45,754 and 3 cents. And we did issue that contract, and they have submitted their vegetation management plan. We met out on site and we had a pre-construction meeting, so we're just tweaking some of the comments on that, their initial submittal, and they're hopefully going to get out there very soon. We don't have an actual start date, but they anticipate that it's only going to be like 2 weeks of work once they start. So
Good.
that's the update.
Bid results.
So we had agreed at previous meetings that we would put the revetment out for bid, and we had a target budget of $500,000, and based on that, we were gonna see where the bids came in and determine whether we were going to proceed with the work and award the contract. We had the bid opening, and you guys had the bid results in your bid package, and De Silva was the low bidder at $447,000, and everything looks legitimate. Bill can talk about, they've checked their references, and he's actually looked at stone, and he's actually talked to Tim, so you can probably let them know what you found in recommendations.
Yeah, so doing our due diligence on the bid, we did talk to Tim De Silva's references. They were all excellent. Very high praise for his diligence in doing the work, his attention to detail. He does have a pretty substantial stockpile of existing stone that can be used for the revetment work available up by the DPW or landfill?
City transfer
sorry.
station.
So we've looked at that. Our geotech engineer from GEI Consulting is going to look at that as well, but we're confident that that rock can be used for the revetment work. I did have a conversation with Tim yesterday just to walk through the work to make sure he understands the scope. It was a good conversation. He's already got a good plan of how he's going to attack the work, how he's going to bring the material in. He has the equipment to do the work. He's going to be out there himself, he said, probably 95% of the time overseeing the work. He plans to have 2 excavators, 2 large machines on site with operators to move the stone into place. So after checking his references and talking to him, we're confident that he can do the work, and I think we're prepared to recommend to the board that if they choose to award the contract, that they can award it to Silva.
And he was a little bit.
He was a little bit, yes.
And this is
yes.
the same company that does the landscaping at
Yes.
City Pier, right?
Yes.
So that we're familiar with.
Oh, yes, yeah.
When will he be done?
It's a 90-day project. He can't start, though, until the invasives are done and the Army Corps permit is in hand. But we've already got comments back from them, and we're hoping maybe September we should get that.
Yes.
So, yeah, so we're hoping that, so once he starts, it'd be 90 days.
Invasive said he'll be done by 9/30/2025.
Yeah, if
So
you,
done by that, then we'd be done hopefully by the end of December.
I'm hoping to be done by, before that, but we shall see. I don't, so we'll see how it all goes, but he thinks that he can get it done a little bit sooner than that, but we'll see. I will also explain, this is probably a good interlude. I put this on everyone's seat. It's just a little kind of chart of, you know, the whole big Northfield Point and how we've kind of broken everything out. So the first two phases, the first two, design and engineering and the invasive plant management, that's all being done by the FY24 Seaport Economic Council grant. And that'll all pretty much be wrapped up by September 30th. The next phase that we want to enter is the stone revetment and embankment stabilization. This work is the 447 for Tim to do the revetment, and we would also need to add Beta's construction admin and site engineer for that. We don't have a formal proposal to review tonight. We've kind of figured the cost could go up potentially to $100K for that, just because they're gonna have to be on site for as long as Tim's on site, just in case something comes up and decisions need to be made. But depending on how the work's going and where we are, you know, if the resident engineer is needed, the resident engineer won't be needed. So, but in a worst case scenario, you'd want to figure the full extent of the 90 days of the job, and that he'd be needed pretty much daily to help make field decisions. Because there is some debris that has to be scraped away and removed. There can be stones that are going to be discovered. Then the decisions can be made. Do they qualify to go into the revetment? Do they not? Do we have a good solid, you know, toe for putting in the revetment stone and that type of thing? And those are all things that, you know, if the resident's not on site and you have to wait for decisions like that, that just extends the time frame of a job. And you don't really want to run into that kind of situation. So I think we should plan for the fact that we'll have a full-time resident for the duration of the project. And you know, I'm hoping to bring to the next board meeting in September a final proposal for that. All
So
right.
for this meeting, we'll only do the contract by Tim DeSilva.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah,
DeSilva is-
but understand that that component is still, needs to be added into the total cost. And this money that we spend on this, and Sarah will go into this in much more detail, well, not much more, but more detail, when we talk about the Seaport grant that has now miraculously opened and we're applying for.
Okay.
Okay?
That was the next question I was gonna ask, how we paying for this?
So this.
Oh, we're
This would come out of this would come out of FRA funds.
Yeah.
The other thing that we need, Representative Fiola did secure a $125,000 earmark for us for this project that we could use towards this, but it has not been funded yet. And so we would have to, you know, we can't say we have it till it's funded.
Yeah.
So it's pending.
Okay. Any other questions? Motion to approve proceeding with the revetment work and award the contract associated with the IFB number 26-04 to DeSilva Landscaping and Construction for the amount of $447,000, and to authorize the chair to sign the agreement.
Second.
Second.
John Erickson, yes.
Ron Rusin, yes?
Ben Feidelberg, yes.
Wait a minute, I have a question.
Yes.
Do we need to include money for Beta on this, or we're not going to?
Next month.
We will. We have to understand that it's probably going to be, it could be upwards of $100,000.
Okay, yes.
Okay.
So we're just doing
Next week.
Tim's contract now, right now.
Did you?
I think
Okay.
yes, yep.
All right, Ann Keen, yes.
Okay, great. Next, Bill and Eric are going to discuss the scope of the final phase of work at Northfield Point.
Presentation worth.
Cue you.
I didn't know if you wanted to give an introduction or.
Cue you.
You want a drum?
So this is, so picture this as being, all the invasives are done, the revetment's done, and then this is the final site work and landscaping, and this is what you would see once the fence is down and everybody's enjoying life out on Northfield Point.
Yeah, I don't, so we're see this, most of you
Exactly
probably
what I
seen
was
this
gonna say.
before. So this,
We have been on this. Okay, so
have you seen this? I'm sorry.
I haven't.
You haven't, okay, so I'll give a little bit of overview. So the Norton Pier's here. This is the spit, we call this the spit, and this is kind of the triangle, the piece to the north.
Point, Eric, just Point Gloria is right at the top of
Yep.
the page.
So this adds another about 1,000, over 1,000 feet of shoreline to the land that the Redevelopment Authority is improving. So City Pier was about 1,800 feet all the way around. This is another 1,000. So this puts you at about a mile of shoreline that you've invested in and improved. And so the revetment, when that's done, the concept here is to rework the spit and the triangle in a naturalized landscape. So it's going to be different than City Pier into its aesthetic and its appearance. It's actually one of the things that we've heard, you've probably heard it too, is people think City Pier's great, the Norton Pier's great, it looks nice, but it's very austere and kind of open, can't plant trees because of the contamination and so on. So it's really great for events. What this does is it gives you a different type of landscape, a landscape that's better for pollinator species, for migratory birds. It gives you a more intimate landscape, and I'll talk about that a little bit more. So it's a complement to everything that you've done so far. And so once this edge is stabilized, the idea is to formalize the pathway out to the point and to create some seating out here. We've picked out some granite blocks from the stockpile at Durfee School. Is that where the granite is?
It's all natural, hand-cut granite
Rustic.
from quarries here in Fall River.
Yeah, so again, it's a different look than the pier that everyone's used to. So it's a more naturalistic kind of landscape with native grasses, granite blocks for seating along the way out, some supplemental landscaping for maybe some shade trees along the way. And then this pathway loops around and comes out to the point here, and again, some seating tucked along this edge with some seating in this area. And the idea is that maybe we create, right now there's a fence along this edge, and open that fence up, take that fence out. It creates, I'm gonna call this like an outdoor classroom, but like a little space where people can gather. School groups could come, there's pieces of salt marsh down here. There'd be native landscape, native plant material. And the ability to sort of interact and have this little classroom space, outdoor classroom, adjacent to the pier. So there's this little loop that brings you through there. Some of the other elements that we have in the project, we've thought about an osprey pole somewhere out on the spit. Would be interesting. Maybe the Redevelopment Authority would have a camera on the osprey nest. We've seen things like that happen
Name the
before.
osprey, baby.
Ideas about some solar-powered bollard lights to provide some illumination of the pathways. It wouldn't be the tall fixtures like you have on the pier, but something that's a little more low level and a little more subtle. Some of these images you may or may not have seen before. This is what is this one? This is just a perspective view, sort of looking out on the peninsula. So.
And a walkway cement.
We're proposing to use what's called stabilized aggregate. It's like a stone dust material, but it has a binder in it. We've been using this a lot for DCR, some of the state parks that we've been working on. So it's a more natural look. It's like gravel appearance or stone dust appearance, but it's ADA accessible. So people with mobility challenges, wheelchairs should be able to go across it, even though it's a more natural appearance. So that's a view looking out. There's kind of a before what it is today, and then a concept for after with the pieces of granite along the way out.
And how long will that last, that dust? Is it like a 10-year lifespan? Do you have to improve
That's a good question. I don't know that it has a lifespan per se. It depends on storm events. You know, if it's overwashed by a storm, that would change it. Because of the polymers, so we'll talk about this. We were talking about the sample that I brought in the other day, but the polymers are like organic and they bind the stone dust together. So in the winter, you might see some little fissuring or micro crazing, but in the spring, it all just kind of comes back together, and you can rake it and sort of reheal itself. You can wet it. If you had to cut a trench through it, you just take it up and then put it back down and reuse the material. So as long as it doesn't get contaminated with other material, it should have a good life. And DCR, we've been doing a lot of projects with them. They've been having good success in it. And your application is great when it's really steep. Sometimes it's hard to use that material, but here it's relatively flat. So that's what we're thinking anyway for the pathway treatments. And then this was maybe just this is kind of an illustrative view, but this idea about some of the pollinator species, some of the plants that might be, I think primarily it would be grasses, but then we'd have accent areas or drifts of different species of flowering perennials that would be good for migratory birds and would be good for pollinator species as well. So very different appearance, very different look, very different set of amenities, I think, than what you have at the pier. I think it starts to activate this space as well. I think a lot of what you have is like leftover highway land, you know, it was always edge of the highway, and now you're sort of waking people up to the idea that this is all part of an active waterfront. I think with the redevelopment and so on. This is gonna attract a lot of people just because it's different, it's a different type of seating, different type of views than some areas, other areas along the pier. And I think it's a nice complement to what you've done there.
And this is the one you think you have done in 90 days?
The revetment piece, so this kind of brownstone
Yeah.
is the piece that was a 90-day. So this would be a follow-up contract in the spring, is what we're thinking?
Yeah, if we,
That's what- yeah.
And I
Also,
think
the
we were
revetment
thinking-
works just around the edges.
Yeah, you can
That's
see,
not the
so
roadway.
the idea is they get
Just
the
teasing
rock,
the roadway.
because the equipment is really gonna pretty much tear this up, you know, to bring in this volume of rock and reset the rock, and this is either sort of a restoration of what's there, or it's an enhancement, and the way we're seeing it is when it goes back together, it kind of looks sort of like it looks today, but it's enhanced to be this more of a public amenity.
What would you say the angle is of the rocks going down?
Oh, the revetment?
It's not that steep.
That varies generally about a 2-to-1 slope,
2 to 1?
yeah.
Okay.
How wide are those pathways?
Yeah, it's a good question, 6 to 7
6.
feet, you know, we have them right now at 6. There's some areas where we may, see how it kind of bows out a little, where the seating is, we may belly the path out a little bit to make it a little wider. You could drive, with the clearances, you know, you could drive if you had to, like a small gator or a lawn tractor out there. It's not really sized for, like big vehicles, like a fire truck normally wouldn't go out on that type of system.
If you had people running in opposite directions, they could cross paths without having to damage that
Yeah,
grass on the side.
that's a good point. I think in that 6-7 foot range, you know, you have a single person passing. Yeah. One of the things we want it to be, you know, balanced in how much green we have around it, so not get too wide, you know, like the pier has wider paths. But that's a good comment, and we can look a little more closely. That may head just a little bit towards the 7 foot side to make sure, you know, there's good passing clearances on your way out there.
I think we do have to be concerned about the width in regard to the coastal bank lines that run along this property, which was something that when we got the Concom permit that they were very cognizant about. So we do have to take that into consideration for
Yeah,
width.
balancing the green.
Yeah.
The edge of the path can't extend beyond the coastal bank line. So that's part of how the alignment was set as well.
The other thing I've talked with Eric about is the rendering you have there shows kind of high grasses, and he's looking at having lower grasses right along the pathway for 2 reasons. One, that way if people get up against the grass, ticks aren't a concern. And the other is if people need to go off the pathway, you've got just not too high grass to be walking on.
So if you do like a 6 foot thing and maybe a foot on each side of a lower grass, so you could move over a little bit.
Yeah, we talked about sort of just having, still a naturalized edge, but just a lower grass selection, and it wouldn't be straight, it might wavy, be, you know, variable width, just to kind of blend in.
That's another contract, we're only talking about the revetment all around the other tonight.
I think what you just processed was for the revetment, but I guess this sets the stage for, you know, what happens next. Because the revetment, like I said, the equipment and the size of the rock will really tear all of this up. And so the project that you have about to underway really is the invasive plant management. So we'll be taking out the non-native plants, the invasive plants, which is already starting to improve the habitat. Revetment will disturb a lot of this when that's done, but then this park would put that, you know, would take advantage of the pieces that we're keeping, like we're keeping some pieces in some of these areas. We're keeping material down here, we'll take advantage of the stuff that we're leaving behind and then enhance it with the improvements.
So Eric, that diagonal existing concrete path there, that has some of those existing Washington lights, doesn't it?
It does, yeah.
So are we gonna tap into those, or are we talking all solar on the bollards?
Yeah, that was a good question. So I think there was a miscommunication. At one point in time, we had a couple of lights out here, and someone said, oh, there's the Washington light, we'll just repeat that. But, you know, I know that the fixture that we advised you to use and the one that you have at the pier is a much nicer fixture. It's dark sky friendly. After talking last week with Sarah and Karen, it sort of came to the conclusion that maybe we just keep everything low and just use the solar, I say low, the solar bollard
We don't
lights.
need any conduit or anything.
Right, right,
Right.
so that's the advantage there, and I think on this site, it's a pretty sensitive site, and the realities of flooding and overwash are out there, and like the less infrastructure you have in the ground, probably the better, you know, and so it just saves all the conduit and wiring and everything else if we can, look at a solar powered option. And just to kind of characterize these, we should have brought one, if people are interested in the bollards, we can bring and share some catalog cuts, but they're like waist high. They're not like you might see. Yeah.
Well, there's some details on the drawings, yeah, the full set, but we were talking like waist high, you know, yeah.
Yeah, they're high enough to throw.
With the
light into, like,
foundation
a
in the
pool.
ground.
The idea is to kind of illuminate the path enough
Right.
for people to walk, but not illuminate the entire site.
What about safety around the perimeter? Are we looking at any type
Cameras.
of fencing? Like we have-
Cameras, we're gonna put cameras out there.
No,
Okay.
I mean from people, you know, for people who are out there from a safety, like we have fencing all around City Pier. Is there anything contemplated for this?
City Pier is so much higher, we really needed
Yeah.
to there, but this is a gradual slope of rock that, you know, people could walk on. Hopefully that doesn't happen much, but, it's not, you know, it's not considered a dangerous edge.
It'd be like walking along Point Gloria right now, there are revetments right there, and there's no fence or anything along there.
It's not gonna be a vertical drop off where you can kind of fall off of it. It's gonna be more of a slope. And the rocks won't have a smooth face. They'll be kind of a jagged face, so that if somebody chose to, which like Sarah says, hopefully not, you wouldn't slide down the rock. You could step onto it. So.
Would prevent fishermen from going out there fishing, or you think that'd be somewhere?
Yeah, that's one of the thoughts in my
Yeah.
head, because that's an issue further down.
I thought one time we were gonna make that a fishing pier.
We had thought about it, but then the city's looking at getting that national, the
National
pier,
National down
yeah.
there, yeah.
And they're gonna intentionally make that a fishing place.
And we'd never envisioned it being a pier that would allow you to get up high and fish. It would be kind of sitting on the edge,
Yeah.
throwing your,
Beautiful renderings, beautiful.
That looks nice.
Yeah, I'm pleased to have a chance, if you haven't seen it, is just to explain a little bit about, you know, the invasives and the revetment, and you're hearing about these pieces of sort of what's the vision and where is it going. You know, and I think it adds value to the redevelopment sites because it's a different type of landscape. It's a more intimate landscape. If you wanted to have, like we said, outdoor classroom, if you wanted to have a smaller function there, we talked about if you wanted to do public art or sculpture exhibit, you know, you could do something along this path where you could have some sculptural pieces that come up or sculpture pieces that come here. You could host something like that. What's interesting about the way this path is it's a little bit different than the pier where you can almost see this site being managed differently. Should you decide to do something more active there, it's very easy to sort of control this point or control the spit going out. So for programming, and you said there's a lot of interest in a pier now developing. In the future, you could more intensively manage or do things here if you wanted to, pretty easily. This gives you a pretty flexible footprint to do that.
Did Beta work on the Greenway in Boston that kind of runs alongside the north end?
Oh, the Rose Kennedy Green, the Rose Kennedy, yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's kind of what it sounds like.
There's there's pieces of that, yeah, you know, when you walk through some of those spaces,
think a
you see
lot
like
of
the
people
pollinator
worked on it.
houses, you know, and
You did?
yeah, we didn't work on it, although we're big fans of it, and we walk that corridor a lot. We have a project with DCR that's actually right under the Zachem Bridge, and we walk through that area a lot. But you could see like bird houses, pollinator houses, or bug hotels as they call them sometimes. I mean, I think you could really do a lot here that's a nice complement and like foil to what the pier is. The pier does a ton of things in a certain direction, and this does the complementary thing as far as engagement and nature and really more intimate spaces. Sorry, go ahead.
you know, I'll add to that. When we originally conceived of this, we got the Audubon Society involved, and they came out and looked at it and said, yes, there's a flyway of birds along the Taunton River, and it would be great to have this be a place where you're really welcoming the birds. You have plants that have seeds and berries and things that would support the birds. And then the people from that, oh, and the other thing about that is that at that time, Fall River had the Audubon Society in the schools running a Nature in the City program. And so the other thing they said to us was the kids in the schools want to be able to go out and actually test water or, you know, look at plants, look at birds, and they didn't have a good, easy place to go, and they would love to bring them out there. Then they lost some grants, and the people who came are no longer there, but we reconnected with Audubon, and we're hoping they're going to reactivate the Nature in the City program in the city, but they are doing things in the city. So we're waiting to hear back what they'd be willing to do with us out there. And then I've contacted the Taunton River Watershed, and that group does all kinds of things on the Taunton River. So the thinking about this outdoor classroom is that at one point we thought maybe we'd just have it all tall grasses. But we got encouragement to make that smaller that area a place that would get mowed and could be a place where kids could sit and talk about the environment. And we're thinking we might include instructional boards that would tell you what birds come there, what flowers are there. And the Seaport Economic Council grant proposal and the proposal that we put in to actually get the money for Beta to do all this design specifically says they want you including an educational aspect. So at that time we had talked quite a bit about that aspect of it, and I think it's a great addition to really think of it as an environment that kids can learn about birds and animals and whatever. And the other thing that kind of supports that concept is the city's been having bird watching adventures in the Copacabana Woods or the bioreserve, and they've been unbelievably well attended. So families can be picked up by a trolley and taken out, and the Audubon Society brings binoculars, and I guess they saw 20 species in the spring, and people were so excited about it. So there clearly is an interest among families to be getting out into the nature areas of the city and, you know, exploring nature. And this summer they had kayaking on the Quikashan pond, and that I guess was really successful. So, so the thinking is we'll get conservation groups involved and, you know, have that a piece of this.
Is there like a specialized landscaping company that would need to service an area like this, or is it something where the solo landscaping can kind of maintain? It seems
We would need to put that out for bid. All this work would have to go out for public bid, so.
For construction.
Construction,
But you're
yeah.
asking about
Yeah.
maintenance,
For the
right?
maintenance.
Once
For the
that's-
maintenance.
Maintenance has
Yeah.
to too.
Yeah, it's a good question. So, companies.
Next year.
Yeah, next
You
year,
don't
but it might
need
not have to.
Special expertise, but we might prepare like an O&M manual that gives you guidance
For
on
construction, we do.
certain types of year to mow the grasses and things like that. So there may be a couple of different practices that are unique to a more natural landscape, but a lot of people in the area would be able to help you with that. It's not too much of a niche, you know, situation, but we'd probably do a manual to kind of guide how it should be maintained. It's a good question.
And was there any type of due diligence regarding any type of environmental issues? You know, we know what we went through with City Pier.
Right.
Is this pristine, or do we know if there was ever anything that occurred on this property?
Yeah, that's a good question. I don't know the full details. I know some of our environmental folks, well, Joe McLaughlin was involved in looking at this in the meantime.
That's all clean as far as I know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It-
It was remediated.
Yeah.
There was some contaminated
It's been
soil
done.
found, but it was removed and remediated. So it's considered a clean site now.
By us or by somebody else?
Or Joe McLaughlin is the
For us.
LSP.
Yes,
As an
for-
L-
yeah,
Yeah, an
yeah.
LSP, yeah.
But
Yeah.
that's going back a ways, I think.
Yeah, I was gonna
You know,
say.
I think
it's a good question. I think
I think it was
the
2012 they did that
The
work.
walkway?
Yeah.
I think they did it in 2012.
I don't know, when you
Wow.
said pristine, I don't know if this was considered
Well, I think the whole site, I believe, was tested.
as test.
And following the remediation, all the levels of the soils that were tested were below any levels that would indicate contamination
Or concern.
or concern.
He
Yeah.
said there was, it doesn't need an AUL is one thing he said because there is contamination under the ground, but it doesn't reach a risk of harm to humans.
And that's based on the 2012 report? That's, nothing has been done more recently.
No, I don't believe so.
Right, it would change.
Well, the
Yeah,
site's
just
been
how-
fenced off since though.
For the kind of investment that we're probably looking at, I think that it's just a prudent thing to do to update it, just so that we know all is good.
Are you not removing any soil?
No.
You're just keeping everything on site?
Yeah, we're
Well,
basically
there's
keeping
some-
everything on site and
some
moving
de-
some of it around.
Yeah.
There's some debris that's asphalt and concrete we'd have to remove, but that's, you know what that is.
No
Right, but that's basically on the surface.
That's on the surface, yeah.
Nothing going deep.
Nothing going deep.
Well, we could,
Not with the revetment?
That by God.
The revetment won't go deep. You just
Don't
need
look
solid
for
footing.
trouble.
Well, Ron, this is a lot of money that's
Yeah.
ultimately gonna get invested here.
And we have no idea on the price of that road and everything, all the
Right.
work there.
No, but Sarah's gonna talk about the grant that we're gonna apply for this,
Okay, all right,
yeah.
perfect.
I mean, I guess what?
We could have Joe.
I was gonna
give
say,
you
we
an
can
update.
talk to Joe and get his opinion on all of
Yeah,
that. Joe
we-
McLaughlin at
This did
Beta.
come up, Joan, a long time ago.
Mhm.
We had a map that showed the different, it was different colors. And I remember him saying that's all clean, that we don't have to remediate anything. Because it didn't have the, City Pier had PCBs and all kinds of things.
They did remediate, like if you look at the south part, well, the bottom part of that thing, yeah, just like where Eric is right, they went into that part of the triangle there.
we could have Joe,
I would just feel better to have it updated and know that we touched it when we were doing all this.
I think it's in the permanent solution.
Yeah,
It's- the permanent solution's been,
addresses it,
Yeah.
but we could have Joe weigh in on this.
Yeah, if-
And talk
What I-
about it.
Yeah, what I would suggest, Sarah, is, yeah, exactly that. We can have our LSP, Joe McLaughlin, who was involved with the work, provide a summary of everything that was done and his opinion of whether there's any risk that there's additional contamination out there, given the time that's passed.
Mhm.
So we can certainly do that.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea. So the other reason we brought this tonight is that we're applying for a Seaport Council, Economic Council grant to have this work done. So we wanted to be sure that you had a good sense of where we are with the design at this point.
It's helpful to visualize,
Yeah.
to actually see it.
And what are we thinking this would cost?
Right.
Do we have an idea, any idea? I know we're going for a grant of 290, 281 and 93, but is this $1 million project, is this a $100,000 project? What do you think?
no, the 281's already a different grant. That's
That, yeah, and I'm not sure that, we were so reluctant to believe that this federal money would come through, that I want to confirm that the federal money is being awarded to us, and we are going to be able to do this work of putting the dinghy dock on and putting 15 moorings in.
Okay.
And Beta also worked with GEI and had that designed. So when you come to this work, Bill, do you want to talk to it, or? Do you want me to? Because I have your numbers here. Do you wanna?
What do you, no, what do you, what do you?
What do you want me to
Well,
say?
the 800.
Well, we're not really gonna, I mean, the grant's probably gonna be somewhere between that and $1 million, right?
Right, they're
Yeah.
asking how much this is
Yeah,
gonna
just
cost.
approximate.
Yeah, just yeah, so it's,
Yeah.
so
Between
we're
800
probably gonna
million.
be somewhere between 800 to $1 million, yeah.
And that's for the full completion of this work?
For
Yeah.
this phase of the work, yes. And as a match, we're gonna use the money that we're spending on the revetment and our funds from the big one too.
And so the actual, work is around 800,000, and then you get higher because, there will be, the work being done by Beta and, the supervision on the site, so it'll be contract management and contract, the supervision on the site. So that's how you get up to close to $1 million. And in this Seaport round, you can apply up to 3 million. But in the past, it's been $1 million, and we think for this kind of project, it's important to keep it in that range.
We say match, that means we have to do half, they do half, or what we mean by match?
Okay, so the Seaport Council requires a 20% match. And what we had talked about and agreed on is that with the Fall River Redevelopment Authority funding the revetment, that's a significant match
Okay.
to this. So what we're doing in the grant proposal is saying this is a 3-part project. It's the moorings and the dinghy dock, and we've gotten that federally funded, and we have matched that to get those federal funds. So that's a $375,000 match to the Seaport grant we're applying for. And then the revetment is another match. And so the revetment piece will also be considered a match. And so we will exceed the 20%, which will make us more competitive. And we wouldn't be doing any other match. We'll show that there's the revetment commitment, the mooring and dinghy dock, and then we're asking you for the final piece, which is this, 900,000, $1 million for all of that work. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does.
Yeah.
And this contract won't be until the spring.
Right, so we're
'Cause it won't-
applying, we've been telling you that we thought we could apply in the spring. And then they said, no, you can't apply till the fall. And we were concerned, I think Joan and I both had thought, oh, is that really going to come through with all the federal cuts to the states and things? So all of a sudden, in a couple of weeks ago, we were told that it had opened and it was due September 10th. So we've all been working really hard to get everything together for a good proposal for September 10th. And that's what, so we'll be putting some of the plans in, the budget, and, explaining that we're already putting in this significant investment as the match.
So we'd have like a 31%. If we went up to a max of $1 million and we did a 447, we got like a 31.3% matched one. So that's over the 20, so that'll look well.
Mm-hmm.
Well, but they're going to consider the federal, so the dinghy dock project
Yeah.
is 375,000. So
Yeah.
that will be considered toward it. And then the 447 will also, as Karen said, we're waiting to get the number for the construction administration, construction management. So that project is more like 512,000.
Okay.
So that will be the other piece. So we would be exceeding, we could be more like 45%.
Okay.
The other thing that they're looking for is project readiness, and we're gonna be really ready to go.
Yeah, that's what.
Yeah.
All right, motion to authorize the executive director to submit a grant application for the final stage of work at Northfield Point to the Seapoint Economic Council for year 26 grant program, provided that the FRRA investment associated with redevelopment work, cost for construction and construction administration of an on-site supervision, along with the big one federal fund grant awarded $281,250 and an FRA match of $93,070 shall constitute to match for this grant proposal.
Second?
Second.
Joan Erickson, yes.
Ron Rusin, yes?
Ed Puttenberg, yes.
Joan Maderas, yes.
Ann Keen, yes.
Thank you. Sarah's gonna talk about the voting, the voting DIG grant, voting infrastructure grant program.
So
If you guys don't want to-
the grant is being funded by the Division of Marine Fisheries of the state, and they basically had us apply to them, and then they applied to Federal Fish and Wildlife. And they were waiting and waiting to see if the federal grant would be approved, and it was. And so we're working with them now on contracts, and I want to talk with you about the contract and some of the stipulations. But they're saying that we can get most of the work, contract work done, so that they could give us a notice to proceed with the project probably in October, which may mean that we could get the piles driven by the end of December, which would mean that we could then proceed well with the rest of the work in the spring. The issue with the piles was what we went through when we were putting the dock in, that there's a time of year restriction for spawning of fish in the Taunton River that goes from January 15th to the end of May. And so if we can get the piles in the fall, early winter, then we'll be able to be ready to put the dinghy dock and the moorings in first thing in the spring. So that's kind of the plan. John and I have gone through the document that they required for us to sign. We're not bringing it to you tonight, but we'll bring it at the next board meeting. But I wanted to go through it because I want to make sure that we're all in agreement that we'll accept this award, and then I can tell the Seaport Council that we are, we've been awarded and that we're going to be getting this grant. So we're proposed, so we had a great meeting with the mayor about this yesterday. And there are many things that the city has to do as part of this. And so we're deciding that we want the Redevelopment Authority and the city to both be signers on this. And the, you get my other notes here. There they are.
So that involves some of those items that you're talking about with the city, that involves that system with
The pump outs?
Yeah.
Yeah, so the harbor master does pump outs for the boats that come in, and this grant is for boats that are 26 feet or larger, and they stay for no more than 15 days. So it's designed to be transient moorings, and the grant is designed to encourage people to go up and down the eastern seaboard and stop and enjoy harbors on the way. And so the city runs a program of this nature now, and so we were asked to go after this to expand that program. And the the way it works is the moorings are advertised on this program called DOCWA. It's kind of like VRBO, or one of those that we might go on to rent rooms or houses. And so people sign up to come for certain periods of time. One of the reasons that this is needed is that Fall River has had yacht clubs and touring groups come with lots of boats and have a regatta. And when they've done that, they've had to put 3 boats per mooring because they had more boats than our moorings could handle. So this will allow that kind of group to come to Fall River and have adequate moorings. And so what the harbor master offers are pump outs so that people can keep traveling. And so that's a service that goes along with this DOCWA program. And the pump outs are done at the Borden Light Marina. Like, he brings it to a sewer system that hooks up there. And so down the road, that may need to be looked at, but that's how it works now. And there are fees associated with signing up and renting these moorings. And so in the past, the fees have gone into the general fund of the city. And this grant program requires that those funds go into a special account and that be managed in such a way that they could audit it and we could report on it. There is an annual report required because this then becomes a specific program. And the mayor said that that was fine. We met with the mayor and Mike Dion, and there already is an ordinance and there's a state law that allows cities to get these kind of funds and have a special fund for your harbor and to segregate funds that are raised through this kind of fee program. So that all will work fine. And then the whole process will be supervised by the Department of Marine Fisheries. And so we've been working with someone who's been really helpful, helping us go after this grant. He's really excited that the federal money came through. And so he'll come maybe once or twice during the period when we're installing everything. And he may come over time, but he wouldn't be coming very often. But one of the rules that we'll have to continue to be aware of is that these moorings and our dinghy dock are supposed to be used primarily by this program. And so we're not supposed to allow other size boats and other people to be using this dinghy dock. And then the last piece of this is that we need to comply with all of these rules, and if we in the city did not comply, the ultimate problem would be that the feds and the state could expect us to pay back what was invested. But the chance of that happening is very, very low. And John said that there are lots of programs like this that say that.
Our lawyer wouldn't let that happen.
Right.
We'll find a way out.
He's gonna put on his skipper hat and go down there and
So,
ensure
any
everything's good.
questions about that?
So
Yeah.
who's gonna be responsible to manage the fees? Us or the city?
No, the city.
No, the city.
So the city now manages those fees, and it would be the harbor master who would manage them, because the harbor master now manages this DOCWA system and takes fees. The difference now is that those fees just go into the general fund of the city. And here, they would have to go into a special fund that would be dedicated to maintain and support this program, which is something that we have been advocating for anyway, that the city should be taking fees that come to the city through the harbor and use them to maintain the harbor master's boat, moorings, you know, various things. So by this program requiring that, it may be a good model for the city to use for the rest of their mooring program, because they already have a serious mooring program.
And you did say that we're gonna be required to provide them reporting around this.
Yeah, so once a year, there's an annual report, but the city needs to maintain the fund with the fees coming in.
Mm-hmm.
So my advice was what's a little bit unique about this is we applied for the grant to
Right.
install, but a lot of the obligations are on the city going forward.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
we're gonna have the city join in the agreement with us, and it sounds like the state was okay with that.
Yeah, the
Adding the
state's
city
okay
as
and the
a-
city's
as a-
okay.
So the mayor agreed that they'll sign it along with us so that they have their obligation.
Okay.
Pleasant Street, Flint, Sarah?
Yes, so next meeting, we'll be signing, we'll bring you that contract.
Yeah, this is just a draft, like this isn't even the final version of it.
Yeah. So I don't really have, much of anything to report on Pleasant Street. We're still waiting to decide what to do with NEPA, waiting for NEPA to get back to us about this whole special review procedure that they're designing that we might be able to use. We did have someone from Serped, the planning agency for this area, come and walk the street with us and look at some of the things we might want to do with the $1.7 million that's been allocated for Pleasant Street. So, that was helpful
We'll
and
just
we
give you
need
this.
Where is that?
No, that's
It's a
fine.
muddled, yeah, yeah.
Um,
Separate
The
agreement.
1.7.
The city has it.
Thanks, Sarah.
And, yeah, it's
Thank you.
federal
Thanks.
money.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
I'm sure.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, have a good day.
And then the last item was the NOMA meeting got delayed, right?
Yeah, so where we are with NOMA, I want to give out this taste of NOMA. So the group is still planning various activities, and we're creating a steering committee because, you know, our fellow from TDI is no longer going to be with us at the end of October, and so we need a new process. And so, our new process is to create a steering committee, and we have Catherine Dillon from Bank 5 willing to serve on it, Alan Maycomber, Joseph from Time Blossom, someone from Peter from People's Inc., who was involved in the TDI for a long time. And we're, I believe, including Tracy Barboza, who's the new director of FRAC. And we probably will invite some others to join us. But that steering committee will meet once a month for about 45 minutes, probably on Zoom. And we're asking them to help prioritize the various ideas that have come from the larger group. And then the larger group will meet every 2 or 3 months. And so I have a steering committee working on this, and then have the larger group. There's definitely thinking that we may, as a whole NOMA group, need to hire somebody, maybe 10 hours a month or something, to help just keep all of that moving forward, because we've had a full-time person doing that. And the steering committee will probably need support. So that will be one of the first agenda items for the steering committee, will be, does anyone have a staff person that they could volunteer for this role, or is everyone going to chip in some money to be able to have someone work like that, probably as a independent contractor? So, Johnny, do you want to add to that?
No. Oh, you said it all?
Oh, and Johnny's on the committee too, he's on the steering committee.
So if there's no further matters for the open session, the chair makes a finding that open session would have a detrimental effect on the negotiating position of the public body. The purpose of the executive session is to approve the executive session minutes from July 23rd, 2025, and discuss strategy with respect to potential real estate transactions for property located at 45 Anawan Street, Fall River, and the Duval Street corridor, Fall River. I will entertain a motion to enter into executive session, and we will not return to open session.
So moved.
Second,
Second.
John Harrison, yes.
Ron Rushin, yes?
Ben Funderburg, yes?
Joan Maderis, yes.
And Keenan, yes.
Thanks, everybody.